Hello everyone, this is Tania Davies here, the Success Slow Coach, speaker, trainer and therapist, and owner and founder of the Mindful Impact Wellness Hub. Today I have the absolute pleasure of introducing you to Sharni-Marie Barney. Hi Sharni, how are you doing?
Awesome. How are you?
I'm good. Full disclosure, it took me ages to get your name right because it's been one of those mornings, but welcome.
Yeah.
How are you this morning?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Yeah. And don't worry, everyone mixes my name up. It's fine.
It shouldn't be that hard. I would like to actually introduce you and your formal qualifications. You are the owner of Forj Marketing, which is international marketing agency, actually based out in the Eyre Peninsula. And you're also an NLP Master Coach with Ignited Mind Coaching, as well as currently studying a BA in Clinical Nutrition and Naturopathy. And when do you sleep?
Yeah, I don't.
We'll talk about that one later. Would you like to just give our audience a bit of an idea about you, your businesses, plural, and why am I interviewing you today?
Obviously Forge Marketing has been my business for the last 7 years. So I started it. I actually started it when I was living on Norfolk Island out in the South Pacific. So that's been my journey up until sort of, I guess, a couple of years ago when I experienced sort of the power of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming and timeline therapy personally. So went through a process of coaching myself, realizing that as a business owner, your business is only as good as the top leader. And so did a lot of work on myself, with a coach, and then was so amazed by the transformation that took place in my own life, went and trained in NLP myself. And then now have set up a sub business, I guess, that runs alongside Forge Marketing, where I help others to coach themselves and to break through their own limitations. And that I'm incredibly passionate about that part of it. And even with Forge Marketing, my marketing agency, one of the key driving passions behind that, I guess, is that I love business and I love what business does for people. I think business is really beneficial to bring out people's full potential, and it's just one tool to do that. And I love helping people bring their ideas to life. I think it's really exciting. Yeah. So that's what Forge Marketing basically sums up.
I've had the pleasure of actually seeing you in action with regards to your coaching and your NLP side, and I think it's a tremendous thing that little snip of information that you shared there, that the business is only as good as its top leader. I 100% agree. So I think the fact that more leaders like yourself are actually stepping into that space, and it's more than self-development. This is just self-actualization, self-awareness. It goes so much more than that. So tell us a little bit about why you're heading down the clinical nutrition and naturopathy path.
Yeah, well, that's a bit random. So funnily enough, I actually had cancer when I was 24 years old. So I'm now 40. So it was a little while ago. Yeah. And during that period of time, it really woke me up to what goes on in our bodies, really, and how many things can be avoided if we're actually really conscious about what we're doing with our bodies. And so I actually started studying it about 10 years ago, and life just took a really different turn. So I did 3 years 10 years ago. And life took a really different turn, and I ended up obviously starting the marketing agency instead, and had family, and we traveled and whatever. But it's always been there in the background, just a real driving passion, I guess. And again, it's that whole thing about wanting to help people become their very best self. And then probably about 6 months ago, I myself actually ended up with some pretty big physical problems. I was under a lot of stress in my business, which we'll dig into as we go. But I was under a lot of stress in my business and had been driving myself pretty hard for 6 years, building the business. And like I said, we traveled internationally for a couple of years with my small family. Yeah. We'd moved houses a number of times. There was a lot going on, and my body was suffering, in a pretty big way. Yeah. But no one could tell me what was wrong. So it's the age-old thing of you go to the doctor and they say nothing's wrong with you, and I'm like, well, how come I'm not feeling good? Yeah. And so that kind of just triggered that sort of whole awareness again for me. And then during a therapy session that I just had this awakening of like, wow, I really love this stuff and I really want to help people. I guess I've been helping people in the mindset space a lot, working with a lot of people in Ignited Mind Coaching, coaching people from a mindset perspective. Yeah. And then realizing that it's only one part of the story, that the physical body is another part of the story, and really wanted to move into that space. So it's kind of a bit of a long-term plan to sort of expand that space in the future. But I've got a few.
Sounds beautifully holistic though.
Yeah, well, I've got a few years of study left, but definitely holistic. The whole picture is what I'm passionate about.
Yes, so. And I actually follow you online with regard to the healthy garden side of things that you do. Tell us just a real little quick snippet as to what inspired that.
So, well, my husband is a soil guru. So he's been in biological farming ever since I've known him, and he's incredibly passionate about getting people aware of, soil health. It's the whole picture again. It's like, what you do to the planet, what we're doing to the soil, what we're doing to the plants that are growing, is eventually what's ending up in our bodies.
Yes, it's the whole system.
It is the whole system, and so. So we've just decided, like, he's got a sideline business as well. So he runs his own business called Ag Spark, Garden Spark. Yeah. And obviously I'm in marketing. So I'm sort of just helping him, kind of just push that along a little bit. And
once a marketer, always a marketer. I'm there with you.
I know. It's like, another thing to market,
So I'm really interested. I mean, the whole slow leadership movement, it really is about telling the story of your struggle when it comes to being slow. And I guess the little insights that we get, and my audience is really quite curious as to those little moments, those aha awakenings, when everything just stopped. It had to slow. So I'm curious, for you, what is the moment for you when either you chose to consciously slow down or the universe actually decided that was the moment to slow you down? Tell us a little bit about that story.
Geez, there's been a few, but
that's the theme. I think there is quite a number for people.
You know what, like one of the significant things that happened after I had cancer was that I had an urgency that I guess was within me from there, in the sense that when you face your own mortality, there's an urgency around life of living fully, and I kind of took that to the extreme on a number of occasions. But the most recent time that comes to mind was actually earlier this year. So I was, at the end of last year, I made the decision that I was going to go big in my business. So in Forj Marketing, obviously with COVID and everything, digital marketing space has really, gone crazy. And I had clients coming out my ears. And so I hired new staff, and I was full on, I hired a new business coach, and I was full on ready to just go big. I was like, that's it. We're going to double our business, triple our business in the next couple of years. Yep. I'm going to run a big company, all this stuff, right? The big thing that everyone's kind of going after. And I got, and my body was suffering, right? And and the other thing too was not only that, but the biggest problem there, I think, was a misalignment, as in my heart wasn't in it. Like, my head was going, yes, this is the way to go because this is what everyone tells you to do. But my heart wasn't there. And I was like, this is not good. I'm way off track here. But I just didn't have the guts to pull the pin, I was like, but if I don't build if I'm not seen to be constantly growing this business, well, how will people perceive me? And I'm never a person that really cares much about what people think, but that was obviously what was going on internally. Yeah. And also it was the thing of like, well, I've spent 7 years building this thing. Why would I not take it bigger? Yeah. But I couldn't do it. And so I sat back and I went, what do I really want? Like, what sort of life do I really want? And I thought a big business with lots of staff is not what I want. Yeah. I love the marketing company, but it's not what I want. So in one day, I actually gave my staff notice and gave a few clients notice as well. Like, I sort of just went, I just can't keep going at the rate that I'm going at. So I pulled my business right back. So I pretty much halved my business overnight. Yeah.
Well done, you.
Yeah. And it was hard, man, because there's so many people involved, and I loved everyone that I was working with, really loved everyone I was working with, but I just needed to do it for myself.
That is such a brave move, to know yourself that well and be brave enough to stop and slow down, to hear the message of what you want. What a great question, which I wish so many more people would ask themselves. But that comparisonitis that's just so thick, the amount of clients I get through the door because they are constantly comparing themselves to not just others, but themselves of 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It's this whole, I want to feel younger, I want to do this, I want to do that. And it's a reality check that actually you're not going to be that person ever again, nor should you be. So it's not just comparing to others, it is also comparing to, like, how many times do I reflect on me in my 20s? And actually, I'm a mum, I'm a wife, I'm so many other things, business owner. Why would you want to go back?
Totally. And the thing is too, like, it came back to the fact that, when you own your own business, you are the creator. You know, we get to create our own life. We get to create our own business. We get to design all of those things to suit us.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not designing it how I want it anymore. I'm designing it how I think it should be, or other people might think it should be, or the world tells us that it should be, or whatever. And I'm like, no, like I want a business that I love turning up every day to.
Absolutely. And not only that, your clients are going to get the best version of you when you're not stretched like a I don't know, like Gumby.
Yeah, totally. And that's, and I highly value that. You know, I value, that feedback from clients. And so it's been an interesting journey since then, because I really did step back, and funnily enough, almost immediately once I made that decision, I started feeling better physically. So yeah, but it's a good reminder, because like I said, I do have the tendency to push hard, and I do have to constantly come back to, what do I want my life to look like, and how do I want to be feeling in that life, and how do I want to be turning up for people? Because if I'm run ragged, I'm not showing up for people in any way that's going to benefit them. So
yeah, not only that, your boys are watching you very closely, like all kids do, and
exactly.
they need the best version of you as well.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, why do you, as a business leader, why do you think so many leaders struggle with slowing down?
Look, I think it's varied depending on who it is that you're talking to. I think there's a lot of ego involved when it comes to business, and not to segment too much, but I think women in business, there is this drive to be at a level that potentially is not necessarily suited to some of them. Like I think we're constantly trying to prove to ourselves and prove to the world that we're worthy, that we're good enough. And I think that's really what it comes, if I think about all the business owners that I talk to, obviously I do a lot of consulting, like business consulting is fairly key in our business. And a lot of the business owners that I talk to, they've got something to prove, and it's either to themselves or to other people. And that's not to, and I've been there plenty of times as well, but I really do think it comes back to that baseline belief of most of humanity that, we don't feel good enough, and we're trying to prove that we are good enough. And I think once you resolve that within yourself, that, I am good enough, once you remove all the labels, it's getting rid of all those labels off ourselves of, having to be something, and just being, once we get rid of those labels, then it gives us that freedom and that passion to be able to create something really amazing, because it's coming from a different energy. It's not being driven. It's that creative energy, that creative life force that then becomes easy,
Yeah, so. And easy is the great word there. When you remove that level of desperation, for me, it's a game changer, especially with my clients, when they finally realize there's no need for the desperation.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too that comes up a lot is obviously fear of lack. So people are scared of not having money, and we mortgage ourselves to the hilt and all of that kind of stuff. Not that we do, because we don't have a mortgage, but but people in general, like we're driven by commercialism, and we're driven by consumerism, and all of those different things that sort of play into it. And I think people get scared that they're not going to have any money, and that was a big thing I think that I went through in a coaching process, was a real awareness of abundance, that, with lack or with lots, that I'm still okay. That the worst thing that can ever happen is that I'm no longer here anymore. And, and as long as I'm still here, then I'll always have enough to get by on.
Absolutely. Wow. I hope so many people are listening to that one. That's the take home message, everyone. We're done.
Yeah. I mean, abundance surrounds us, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we'll always have enough money. I have a firm belief that you'll always have enough money if you're aligned with your purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious, out of all of the gurus that have come and gone in your world, who do you think has given you the best advice about slowing down?
Good question. I can't think of anyone who's actually told me to slow down specifically. Maybe my mum.
Everybody says their mum.
Yeah. But my kids, I reckon, they haven't given me that advice per se. But, I think the significant thing for me was I looked at them one day, and I've got a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, and all of a sudden I could see them as teenagers and adults. And, and I just went, wow, I can run a business anytime, but I can't be a mum. I mean, I will be a mum forever, but I'm, as in, in an active form like I am now, that nurturing process, you know, I just went like, this is the time for me to be able to spend that time with them. And you know, family is my highest priority in every area of my life. And so I think that was probably the advice. It was probably more of a, I don't know, maybe a spiritual message or something, I'm not sure, but it was definitely the advice of going, hey, you need to take a deep breath and look after yourself and slow down, because these guys are not going to be here in the house forever.
Yeah. I
And
hear on the weekend, my kids had a sleepover at the neighbour's house.
Yeah.
And there was an eerie quiet in
Yeah.
the house that became quite uncomfortable, because I started to realise how often I tell them to be quiet. And yet it's a comforting feeling having that constant yattering of the children in the house. So yeah, I'm hearing that one.
Totally.
So let's share for a moment, if you would, your personal tools that our audience can tap into on actually slowing down.
Yeah. So a big one for me is I spend 10 minutes every morning meditating. And, you know, it doesn't have to be weird. Like, some people get a bit weird when you say the word meditating. And it's just literally sitting in silence with my eyes closed and breathing, you know, like, and that I find, I mean, not only has that got amazing physical benefits for your body, but it also just brings you back to self, you know. And so I spend that time, and then following that, I journal. So not every day, but I do try to journal a lot. And I think that, and again, people get a bit weirded out by that. People say I'm not a writer, whatever, but it's just a matter of just getting stuff out of your head and onto a page.
It is just a piece of paper and a pen at the end of the day.
Yeah, totally. And I think those priorities for me are probably a cornerstone of that self-reflection.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because I think the tools for slowing down are, the key there is just coming back to what's important and what do you want, like we said before, you know, coming back to those things. But also knowing that there's, you know, that there's times of busyness, that there's going to be times of business. So, like, I do believe in business that you can't be slow all the time. Like, I think there's times where you do have to put your foot on the pedal and go for it for a little bit, but then realize that at the end of that you're going to need to give yourself some time as well. So taking that regular time out.
It's interesting you say that, because when I talk to people about the slow leadership movement, you've said it exactly. It's not about being a slow coach the whole time. What it is doing is actually giving you the headspace to make better decisions. I mean, the science is out there about the fact that when you actually do slow down, you are going to make far more beneficial decisions for the business. And you're right, there is a season for going fast and there is a season for going slow. But when we're on fast the whole time, the body and the business will suffer, as you said.
And the other tool I would say, and this is probably more directed at your female audience, is I'll go away on my own for a couple of days on a regular basis. So when I say regular, maybe every 6 months, I'll book in a 2-day retreat just on my own, somewhere where I don't talk to anyone, I don't touch my social media accounts, I don't do any of that stuff. And I'm away from my kids, obviously, as well, away from my family. And I just take those 2 days out to really come back to what's important, what do I want to be doing, that kind of thing. And I think a lot of women don't allow themselves time like that. Maybe some women wouldn't love it, but, you know, for me, I find it really important to have that time of reflection where there's no other voices in my head. It's just me. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that one.
It's really good.
I'm going to Google retreats afterwards.
So do it.
I'm really curious now, because, you know, we all, you know, I'm a coach, you're a coach. We know how to tell other people what to do in that coaching space. But what are some of your biggest challenges still in slowing down?
I still have that urgency in me, in the sense of that I'm so aware that life is so short. And for me, you know, I feel like I have a calling, I guess, if you like, if you want to use that term, to really make impact in people's lives. I really want to be able to make an impact in people's lives. And the slowing down for me, sometimes I struggle with the thought of I'm not doing enough. And it's not that I'm not good enough, it's that I'm not doing enough. I'm not making enough impact. You know, I've only got so many years of my life left. You know, I need to make it count. So that's my biggest struggle. I think I get quite discontented and quite frustrated when things aren't moving fast enough. But definitely realizing the gift of that space, which has definitely been a new thing for me.
I think bringing awareness to that feeling that goes on with that urgency. that's the first place to start with it.
And really trusting that it'll happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, those things will happen, that I just need to kind of it's like I'm trying to get to that point where I just feel like I'm breathing in life. Like it's just in and out, you know, that gentle flow. Yeah. So that's my struggle.
I'm really interested to hear your insights as to what you think the slow leadership movement, or even just conscious leaders at the top, as you said, when they actually cotton on to the concept of slowing down, what do you reckon the business benefits are going to be?
Oh, it's huge, because running a business from a place of panic or a place of stress is not good for anybody, because like you're saying, you know, like you don't think clearly, you don't make good decisions. You certainly, from my experience, especially if you're in the creative space, you're certainly not creating amazing things because it's coming from a wrong energy. Your staff, you know, the culture within a business of a leader who's under stress all the time is going to be not beneficial, you know. So for leaders to be able to slow down, take a deep breath, but also be confident in themselves that they don't have to be doing all the time. Like that is such a powerful thing, and that whole energy will go throughout their entire business. And so you end up attracting, you know, bigger clients. You end up attracting people will sense that and have far more confidence in your leadership. Like I really believe that. Like when I meet leaders that have got that calmness about them, you know, you feel so much more comfortable dealing with them and working with them because you feel confident that they've got it all under control.
Yeah, it's that security inside. You can sense it so quickly.
Totally. Yeah.
Even in their language, or as my mother would say, because I speak so fast all the time, she said, you need to slow down your language. And it's true. There's a lot in that I'm always so full of ideas and I want to communicate so much. But the moment we slow down, we project that sense of calmness to everyone.
Yeah. And it's not, again, and it's not about changing who you are. You know, it's just about, you know, breathing through the process. And like I said, removing those labels, getting rid of all the ego out of it, and just being really confident in where you're at and what you've chosen to do, realizing that we get to create the life that we live. You know, no one's put that on us. So, yeah.
I love coaching around the ego space. It's a great one. It really is, because it leads our businesses for us instead of us being consciously aware of what we're doing.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
So thank you so much. We've actually come to the end of our time. I would love for everybody to be able to reach out to you. I have multiple links for all of your services available. They will be I'll all be in the comments, so anyone can touch into Sharni-Marie. I've done it again. Sharni-Marie will be available for on LinkedIn, Facebook, all of those different platforms, as you'd expect from a marketing person. But I wish you all the best with your studies as well. The world needs people who are as passionate as you are in those spaces.
Yeah, awesome. No, thanks so much. And thanks for having me on. It's been really fun.
That's okay. See you later, everyone.
Okay, bye.